Sugar is evil. Clean eating requires extreme restriction. Totoo ba yun? If a product is fortified, it's automatically nutritious. Intermittent fasting, is it a miracle? Or just marketing? Dairy is bad and inflammatory. One of the things that I live by as a mom is to not associate fear with any of the food that my child will request or intake or try. What's up, you guys, and welcome to another episode of Adulting with Joyce Pring. I'm so excited about today's episode because we'll be discussing one of the most confusing and honestly overwhelming parts of healthy living, which is food trends, and diet fads. So, this episode, I'm busting 5 of the most common myths around food and nutrition, especially the ones that affect how we feed ourselves and, of course, our families. I'll also be giving you some practical, doable tips so you can feel more confident and less stressed when it comes to meal times, especially for the mamas out there na lagi na lang gumagawa at nagluluto. Feeling ko I'm always cooking. This is also for you. And of course, a big thank you to Arla for sponsoring this episode. More about them later on because real food deserves real talk. All right, the first myth that we're going to debunk is sugar is evil. What is the myth? The myth is all sugar is bad. But the truth is that not all sugar is created equal. The real culprit is added or refined sugars. And that's the kind that's found in, syempre, not healthy drinks, diba? Processed snacks, baked goods, and of course, sweetened anything, processed anything, sweetened anything. These offer empty calories and spike your blood sugar. But sugar that naturally occurs in fruits, vegetables, and dairy, that comes with fiber, that comes with vitamins or protein, which help your body digest it slowly and use it properly. So, tip, instead of going sugar free, focus on reducing added sugar and choosing naturally sweet foods like bananas, maybe berries, and milk. My family, especially my children, we love fruits in our home. Even when they were kids, I always train them now when we're eating, after we have a meal, if they want something like a dessert, it's usually fruits. So favorite namin papayas, we love kiwis, we love bananas. It's something that we always have with our meal. So just think about that. Good sugar. Use whole foods to satisfy sweet cravings. And you don't really have to fear sugar, you just have to understand it. Now, one of the things that I live by as a mom is to not associate fear with any of the food that my child will request or intake or try. Because I want them to have a healthy relationship with food. So, if that's also you, try to balance it out. Yes, I'm talking about choosing whole foods, choosing good sugars like fruits, diba? Or milk or protein or anything like that. But at the same time, if your kids are requesting for maybe something like a sweet treat, like a chocolate or whatever it is, make sure that you balance that also. Na hindi mo itatakot sa kanila na this is evil, this is bad because it's chocolate, because it's this and that. You have to make them understand that there's a way to balance things. My rule for myself is something that I apply to my children. I just get a little bit of a taste. Like I have a little piece of chocolate if I want to, a piece of the bad sugars that they say. And then I balance that out by having more whole foods, more healthy sugars in my diet. Myth number 2. Fortified equals automatically healthy. The myth is if a product is fortified, it's automatically nutritious. To be frank with you, this was something that I also thought was true when I was starting out in my own health journey. Kasi nga naman, fortified, diba? But the truth is, fortified means nutrients like vitamins or minerals have been added to a product that didn't originally contain them. So, while that might sound like a good thing, fortification can sometimes be a marketing trick that is used by brands, unfortunately. So, many spreads and dairy products are fortified, but they're made with artificial ingredients, oils, or sugars. And that's where our sponsor for today's episode comes in. Arla, however, uses real natural dairy, offering essential nutrients like calcium and protein straight from the source. Don't be fooled by buzzwords. Do a fact check and go for wholesome, minimally processed options like Arla that naturally provide what your family needs. So, how exactly do you do a pack check? For example, if you see a product and it doesn't necessarily say that it's fortified, you can look at the ingredients list and see, okay, does it have vitamins and minerals? Does it have vitamin A or whatever? If it has that, that usually means that it's fortified and they just didn't put that in the label of their product. So always do a pack check to make sure that you're using nutritious, delicious, and really real products for you and for your family. And here's a tip for you. For all of the mamas out there, go for real, minimally processed foods that are naturally rich in nutrients. For example, Arla's natural dairy products contain calcium, protein, and other essential nutrients without needing to be fortified because they come from real milk. The cheeses and spreads are great for sandwiches, pasta, or just simple snacks. It's nutritious and delicious. My kids and I, we love their cream cheese. So, more often than not, we like to buy pandesal from our local store. And then the kids, para easy breakfast lang, we would have the cream cheese, the Arla cream cheese with that. Or sometimes, if I want, diba, they would have their milk from Arla. And it's really something that they enjoy. And I know that it's delicious for them, but it's also nutritious as a mama who's always doing these pack checks. As moms, we want to make the best choices for our families, but with so many food rules and, of course, diet trends out there, it just can feel so overwhelming. But feeding your family shouldn't feel like following a complicated rule book to the T. Good food doesn't have to be extreme, it just has to be real. And of course, with Arla, you don't have to choose between nutrition and flavor. Made with natural dairy and simple, honest ingredients, Arla products are packed with the nutrients your family needs, no additives, no artificial stuff, and no guilt. Skip the fads and go for foods that fuel your kids and bring joy to the table. Healthy eating isn't about restriction. It's about showing up with love, making the best choices we can for ourselves and for our families, and creating moments around the table that our families will remember. Less extras, more real. Get Arla. Myth number 3, intermittent fasting. Is it a miracle or just marketing? Myth. Everyone should try intermittent fasting for weight loss and better health. What's the truth? Well, while some people see the benefits, intermittent fasting isn't for everyone, especially for me personally, and for moms or kids or active families. Skipping meals can lead to irritability, cravings, energy crashes, especially if you're juggling work, school, and parenting. I honestly tried intermittent fasting, or IF as we all like to call it, kasi yun yung parang talagang trending thing when I started my health journey, and I hated it. I hated every second of intermittent fasting because it just wasn't working for my body. And it wasn't until I actually hired a nutritional coach to tell me more about this, about the past two fads that I was talking to you about, and about IF. And he told me that IF works for certain types of people, for their kind of body, for their kind of lifestyle, for their kind of even their demeanor or their personality. But maybe it just doesn't work for you. And you don't have to keep trying to push for this particular thing that doesn't work for your body and for your lifestyle. And that just gave me so much hope and so much joy. So instead of strict fasting with, the windows and all of these things, aim for regular balanced meals and smart snacks. Use whole foods like what we've been talking about, like lean proteins, complex carbs, and healthy fats to maintain energy levels throughout the day because you'll feel much better and you'll be more consistent in the long run. And that's why we were talking about that earlier, right? How do you figure out all of these myths and all of these fads that we have? You have to be more mindful and talagang really be honest with yourself. If you try it out, okay, you try it out and then you see, how does this actually affect my body, my personality, my lifestyle? Is this helping me reach my goal, or is this just a fad I'm trying to get on because everybody else is doing it? Myth number 4. Dairy is bad and inflammatory. It cannot be true because I love dairy. Okay, the myth is that dairy causes inflammation and should be avoided. Is that the truth? Well, the truth is, unless you're lactose intolerant or have a medical condition, dairy can actually be a powerhouse of nutrition. The fear around dairy often comes from misinformation and not really science. And that's why I love natural dairy products like milk, cheese, and yogurt. They're full of calcium, they're high quality protein, and of course, it has B vitamins and they support bone health, muscle repair, and growth, especially for growing kids. For my family, ang staple namin palagi na for snacks and things like that, it's really a lot of dairy. And I see my kids, they love it. They're healthy, they're very strong, they're very active, and it just really helps them. And for me as well, I love eating dairy. I love it as a part of my day to day nutrition. And it just is all about choosing brands that use simple, natural ingredients. Fifth and finally, clean eating requires extreme restriction. Totoo ba yun? So the myth is that eating clean means you have to avoid sugar, gluten, carbs, dairy, or anything that is processed. But the truth is, and I circle back to what I was talking about earlier, clean eating started as a helpful reminder to eat whole foods. But over time, it's become a form of perfectionism that can cause guilt, stress, and even disordered eating patterns. That's why it's so important to just aim for the balance, right? For parents, this mindset can make meal planning feel impossible. So for me, at the beginning of my motherhood journey, I was like that. I was like, it has to be perfect. It has to be clean. Everything has to be bought, and I have to make sure that everything is just perfect and clean. But the reality is, we have to practice a balanced and flexible approach. It's okay to have those treats. Maybe you want a cookie, maybe you want chocolate, maybe you want something that is sweet or not necessarily healthy for you. It's okay to order takeout, but you have to focus on consistency and balancing over perfection. A colorful plate with a variety of whole foods and a few treats is a lot healthier than an extreme clean diet that leaves you constantly hungry or overwhelmed. One of the best advice that I got from my nutritionist is that, and you can watch that episode that I did with him, with Coach Sid. One of the best advice that he ever gave me was the best diet for you is the diet that you can stick with. So, what's the diet that you can stick with? It's whole foods, yes, but it's also treats here and there. It's allowing yourself to be focused on your goal of eating healthier, doing pack checks, and choosing the right products for you and your family, while at the same time allowing space for grace to really just be able to make decisions that are going to be good for you and your family in the long run while finding that balance in the in between. So, those are the five myths that I wanted busted for today. Sana ay nakatulong siya sa inyo. And if you have any other thoughts on those, please do let me know in the comment section below. But before I let you go, I actually have a bonus tip for you. Easy ways to make healthy eating fun with, of course, our sponsor for today's episode, Arla. First tip. Color counts. Fill your kids' plate with a rainbow. Add red strawberries, orange carrots, green cucumber slices, plus some Arla cheese triangles for protein and calcium. When I heard about this tip, it actually changed my life. Kasi before, ang like ko iniisip, asan ba yung protein dito? Asan ba yung carbs dito? Asan ba yung fiber dito? Ano ba yung mga macronutrients dito? And then when I thought about the rainbow thinking lang of like having a rainbow plate, then I realized, yung pala yung dapat. There's balanced different colors of different food groups on my children's plate. And on that note, if your kids don't like eating maybe vegetables or fruits or whatever it is that you're trying to introduce to them, keep putting it on their plates. Because apparently, and I only learned this from a children's nutritionist that I follow online, kids need to be exposed to these foods without the pressure of actually trying it multiple times before they even have the interest of tasting it. And I've tried this on my 4-year-old, Kuya Eliam. Sometimes he doesn't like trying new vegetables or new fruits, but I just keep serving it to him. And then one time, a miracle happened because it was on his plate. He got so curious. He was like, I'm going to try this. And then he ate it. And then he liked it. So keep exposing your children to these kinds of healthy foods. And then eventually, they'll be curious enough to try it themselves. Another tip for you is to get them involved. This is my secret. A lot of people ask me, how do you make my kids eat good food, healthy food? It's really just letting my child build their own sandwich or wrap or snack. I do it with them. They get their own Arla cheese slices, their own vegetables, their own dip, and they have this sense of independence, and then they think it's a game, that we're just having fun, we're having playtime, but in reality we're preparing the food that they're about to eat. So having them be involved in the process, it makes them more likely to try the food themselves because they know that they were part of that process of preparing it for them. Another tip for you is to pair wisely. Give your usual snacks a nutritious twist. So, if they already love, whole grain toast, then add some Arla, an Arla yogurt, or a drizzle of honey, fresh fruit for a refreshing and wholesome breakfast or merienda. Another tip for you is to make snack time smart. Pair carbs with protein like whole grain crackers plus cheese for energy that lasts. Honestly, one of the things that I have been learning now that I'm a mom of two toddlers is that if they keep asking for more snacks or more food, it's probably because I am not packing or pairing their carbs with proper protein. So if they're just eating carbs, it's good that they're eating carbs, right? But you want to pair that with more protein para they feel fuller for a longer period of time. And those are all of my bonus tips for you. I hope that that helped you, even if you don't have kids. These are things that you can apply in your own journey if you're trying to be more healthy. I always say when people ask me about how I became stronger after giving birth to two kids, I honestly feel like I'm stronger and healthier now that I'm a mom than when I was still single. It's really because of proper nutrition. It's all about not thinking about the myths or the fads or what's trending, but really going back to the science, going back to the basics. What is the proper nutrition that I can do for my body? What are the things that I can do, the practices that I can do that will help me be better every single day? And then I just keep doing it consistently and showing up every single day with so much grace for myself and for my family, and making sure that I'm trying to be better, one step better at a time. At the end of the day, healthy eating, it doesn't have to be trendy, it doesn't have to be complicated or even restrictive. It just has to work for your real life, for your own journey, and for your own lifestyle. Now, the next time a new diet or food rule pops up on your feed, you ask yourself, is this actually sustainable? Is this something that I can do in the long run? Does this support my body and my family's needs? Is this based on fear or facts? Let's ditch the fads and choose food that fuel us, not frustrate us. With Arla, you don't have to choose between health and flavor. So thanks for tuning in today. If this episode has helped clear up some myths for you, be sure to share it with a fellow parent or a friend. And remember, food fads fade, but smart choices last a lifetime. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Adulting with Joyce Pring, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Paalam!